From the Pixie Dust Studio in Minneapolis, Minnesota, welcome to the I See Hope Empowering Positive Change podcast. I am Lori Lorenz, Human Energy Engineer and your host for today's episode, Destiny Updates with Wes Hamilton. We are talking about week 19 and new adventures during COVID-19. Our co-host and featured speaker today is Wes Hamilton, Master Numerologist and Chief Spiritual Officer for Core Passion, Inc. He provides insight, guidance, and spiritual support. He reveals how ancient mathematics connects to timelines, showing us where and when to focus our time and energy. Welcome, Wes.
Hey, Laurie. Good to be back again on the video chat.
Yes, and this is our week 19, which is all about new adventures. How does 19 turn into a new adventure, Wes?
Well, it's an interesting number because 19 is a 1 and a 9 together. So we are trying our very best to step into our new lifestyle pivot. And we're doing our very best to see how we could do that to be a better person and help other people. So there's lots of different directions that I've been talking about with people this week. The good thing about the virus that's plaguing us is people are paying more attention to themselves. It's like, what am I going to do? And some people are like, I'm not going to wear a mask. And other people are like, well, I think we got to spend more time figuring out how to help each other. So there's, as always, gifts and challenges with any kind of a change. But this week, it's important to look at, if you could have a wish or a dream happen in the next 30 days, what would that dream or wish be? The energy of the 1 in this week's energy is about making a wish come true if you know how to pivot.
Great. And we talked about that last episode too. We talked about the mindset pivoter during radical change, how having an affirmation, having that idea of what you really, really want, that wish, that dream, and what you have to do in a 6-step practice to really get that to happen.
It's a catalyst. If you follow that mindset pivoter, it's really a catalyst. I've been working with people all week in my coaching practice to get them clear on their affirmation. That seems to be the trickiest part. What do you really want?
Mm-hmm. It is. In fact, I did that. I took the mindset pivoter and I got quiet and I sat with it and I wrote a few different versions until I was happy. Would you like to hear mine?
I would love to see what your pivot is.
All right, here we go. I am a human energy engineer, aligning with oneness, taking inspired action to develop, build, and grow my digital business portfolio of transformational platforms and programs ready to launch in 60 days.
That sounds impressive. Any words to help us regular people understand what you're doing?
Well, this is me, of course. This has to first resonate with me, and then definitely I can explain it. I love to build inside the computer, right? And I love to build things that help people outside of the computer. This means websites, web apps, all those different pieces that add up to your own digital business. Because when you don't have brick and mortar, when you're working from home and you have the internet as your building blocks, right? How do you build a business and how do you get it to work and integrate with all the other stuff so people can get their stuff? People can learn a new thing or be transformed. It's all that internet marketing. It is, reading a website, ordering from a website, listening to a podcast, right? So what I did was Everyone else says, well, Lori, you just do that tech thing. Well, I have a new name for it now.
Whoa.
It is called Tech Joy.
Tech joy.
Yes. And if you notice, I have this little pattern, right? I have fan joy, the feeling you get when you're a fan.
Okay.
And everybody gets excited. I think a lot of people get that. They're at a rock concert or a virtual rock concert and they're just totally jazzed up, right?
Yep.
Well, guess what? You can feel that about your technology too. Not very many people know yet.
That would be a pivot.
Yes. So for me, my tech joy is when everything's humming, it's clicking, and it just boom, da boom, da boom, da boom. I can sit back and watch my computer work. I love it. So how do I get tech joy from here to there, right? And the thing my clients are asking, once I'm getting them onto the platform that's going to really be the foundation of their new business model of digital, it is the courseware and the memberships and the internet marketing pieces. And they go, I don't have anything to put in here. I have no content, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I go, well, you've been in this business for how long? A lot of these folks have got the 5-year, 10-year, 15-year plus mark,
Yeah.
right? And they've got stuff laying around they don't even know they have.
We're guilty of that.
Yes, you've got a bunch of stuff. And I tell them, well, how about I help you turn what you know into money? They go, oh, how do you do that? Well, first you have to have this digital platform in place, which is what we're working on. And then you can take things that intellectual property. A lot of people have written magazine articles before there were blogs, right? They're not online. Well, let's get them online. People have step-by-steps they know just work because they've perfected it over years. Well, that's a system. Let's share that. Then other people can do the same system, but of course, when they do it, it'll look different, so there's no worries. Or, simply writing a book. That's intellectual property and being able to sell it.
That's exciting. So
All sorts of things.
what I hear you saying is, if we decide to pivot and take our business online, you seem to have an understanding how that could happen and you could help us.
Yes, I can help you and help you fill it up with content you don't realize you have.
I know the Muse has been talking to you about that because we're taking online training about what we have to do to be online, but you're the technical genius that says, well, if you're going to do that, then you need this and this and this. And I remember looking at my burn down list you sent me the other day just for one of my things. Like, oh my God.
I get you, Wes. That's why I do those. That is part of agile project management and Scrum Master work, is to have a burn down list. So everybody knows what's on the table and who's working on what. So that's another reason why I manage a team of contractors and freelancers. And to me, that's part of my tech joy, is when I see everybody working together and having what they need. Oh, that's wonderful. So for some people, a new adventure, well, I do have another new adventure. Can I share that?
Okay.
I decided that to have inspired action, I need to be inspired. So I'm taking a watercolor class online.
Okay.
And that juices me up in the morning so I can go, oh, I can play with my pretty colors and stuff. Ooh, this is exciting. And then that infuses my joy. And now I can go click on things.
Creativity really does some amazing things. I know when the Muse started playing her trumpet several years ago, from being not playing the trumpet, her public speaking got much better and her creative writing became much better. So, I study the brain a lot and intentions. And just this morning, I was reading about if you can get the right brain, the logical, analytical, accountant part of the brain, to shake hands and start to dance with the left brain, the creative, mystical, fun part, that's the role of a master, to bring those two parts together instead of either or. They quit fighting with each other and they start to say, well, if we did that, then we could do this and this and this. So it makes sense. The more the watercolors bring you joy, you become a fan of your own self, you can start being much more creative in helping us.
Yes, and that is a new adventure, and it's a pivot because I would always work on everyone else's stuff. Now I get to work on my stuff, doing the same sort of things. So I'm putting my oxygen mask on first, then I can help others. So that might be another pivot for people, because when uh, you know more about where to pivot, that helps a lot. However, there's fear that gets in the way, right?
Perfection fear.
Yeah, perfectionism or being worthy. There's so many different mindset fears you can pull out of these,
Okay.
right?
One of these podcasts would be kind of fun to explore different ways to become creative in the privacy of your own home.
I will make a note of that. We're going to do some creative experiential exercises. I'll make a note.
Yeah, if we're going to continue these podcasts, it might be fun to do that on a week that adds up to a number 3, because that's all about creativity.
Sounds good. I will make another note. All right. Well, I have a poem that you and the Muse shared during our continuity class this week.
Yes.
That is, how can we see sheltering at home and all the fear that we've got from COVID-19 in a new light?
Yeah.
Would you like me to read that?
Yes, that poem is an amazing poem, because when I found that poem and read it, I got the feeling of what's going on emotionally with many, many people. It's like, okay, I've done this all my life. I know how to do this. I'm really good at this. And I don't know where I'm going. And then all of a sudden I see a possibility of where I'm going. It's like, I don't know how to do that. So yes, read that poem. It's a powerful message to make us aware that nature has the same emotional needs we do.
Yes, and it's the author had a huge body of work. Uh,
Cahill Gilbran, yeah.
yes, and there's so much more. If you like this poem, there's much more you could go look at.
Oh, yeah, he's got
And
books. Everything he wrote became a poem or a message.
yes, and what I'll do is I will put this poem in our freebies. I'll
Perfect.
have a printout so people can stick it on their fridge if they want.
Yeah, and maybe as you record this, maybe you could figure out a way that they could put that on their iPhone or their Android, so they could listen to it during the day.
Okay. All right, let me make another note.
Okay.
Poem MP3. Got it.
Because every time I read that, I get that little feeling like, oh, that's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well,
Okay.
here, let's go through the poem.
Yeah.
It is said that before entering the sea, a river trembles with fear. She looks back at the path she has traveled from the peaks of the mountains, the long winding road crossing forests and villages. And in front of her, she sees an ocean so vast that to enter, there seems nothing more than to disappear forever. But there is no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. The river needs to take the risk of entering the ocean, because only then will fear disappear. Because that's where the river will know it's not about disappearing into the ocean, but of becoming the ocean.
Yep. And that's the sensory energy we are in, the 9 energy. And if we can all become the ocean of life in our environment with all of the creatures and the plants and with each other, that's the ultimate goal, to be one with the ocean.
I agree. It's a big place, a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, right.
And
Endless
this,
when you're in there.
that's right. This is the opportunity of coming together.
Yeah.
Right? That's another adventure, because like Etsy has pivoted, a lot of the crafters have turned to making masks. thankfully
Yes.
for all of us.
Yeah, that's another new way to be creative. I've seen so many fun, creative ways masks are now expressing the creativity of people who know, like a friend of mine. She's a photographer, retired airline a flight attendant, and she sent the Muse and I a couple of masks. And she knows I used to love sailing and boating. So our masks have sails and boats on them floating in the
Nice.
water. So
Yes, that is a way to express creativity, like we're talking about, and make it as fun as we can possibly make it in these times of stress.
totally,
Right.
yeah. And a good friend of mine, Echo Bodine, sent me a mask, and it's a beautiful mask with numbers all over. Like, oh my God.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, yeah, there's, you got to bring some of this humor in with this crisis in order to
Mhm.
balance it out so it's not overwhelming.
And also our musicians and performers who have been hit really hard because they go where the people go. They have found ways to help all of us from their hearts. Like there's a song, a country western song that you shared on Facebook that I'll put on the blog post. Can you tell me about
Yeah,
that one?
there's 30 country western musicians from all walks of life, and they've come together individually and collectively, singing the country road song.
Nice.
And it closes with Dolly Parton, and she does her famous little wink at the end. So
All right, I've got to see that. I
yeah,
will definitely put that on the list.
yeah, it warms my heart to listen to it, because each one of those powerful musicians have come together with a common theme to, we're on this road, let's travel it together.
Nice.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people finding new ways. Like, okay, I admit it, I am a fan of The Voice and I am totally addicted to that. And I was just curious, how are they going to handle not being able to be in the same studio together? Well, turns out they had like 18 streaming live feeds all beaming into Los Angeles, and they were mixing it live and presenting a TV show from all over the country, all at the same time.
Wow.
It was just amazing. And they did a really good job. It was a lot of fun. And the original premise of the show is to have everybody in the viewing audience vote for their favorite artist. And
Yeah.
they could still do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would be an interesting feat, because I've followed The Voice for years and I haven't lately. But yeah, that sounds like fun. I better get back to watching it.
That's right. And it is streaming for binge watching later. So that's one of the new adventures. Now, we're talking about pivoting, right?
Yes.
And pivoting your destiny.
May is pivot month.
Pivot month. So how do you know when you're at your pivot point?
Well, that's a tricky one, because it's different for everyone.
Mhm.
Typically, the characteristics of a pivot point is halfway between overwhelm and a vision. We're scared and we don't know what to look for. So somewhere in that center point, it's important to stay present and grounded, because this kind of energy we're in right now causes all of us to get a little drifty and dreamy. So this week I've been working a lot with folks getting recentered and grounded. You got to be connected to Mother Earth, so to speak, in order to have a pivot point. And a pivot point can come as an intuitive guidance. It can come from looking in your past of what you've done in the past, and looked at, for ways that you could do it in the future. But just like The Voice, how do you do it online, or how do you do it through a homemade video, or what do you do to get to where you want to be if you hit a wall? So one of the ways that I've been working with people is to have a fun experience with cards. And excuse me, I don't know what was in that coffee this morning. But, um, the Muse and I created a deck of cards many years ago, and if you want, we can look for pivot points and help people with that deck of cards if you want to.
Sure, sure. It's called the Quest deck.
Yep.
And it has the positive statements from all the gift statements from the Core Passion Assessment.
Yes.
And we did that, I remember because I helped you make it,
You did.
was to help your
Yeah.
intuition have a voice.
Yes.
And it's all fun. It's creativity again. It's to look at something a different way and to get you kind of prompted. It's kind of coming back to the journaling that we're doing for the affirmation worksheet for the mindset pivoter. So I wrote down the question we came up with.
Yes.
Before we
let's
started.
do that. That's kind of a fun experience. So the question you had was,
what do I need to know today about pivoting my destiny and starting new adventures? And this is where you journal. So even if you don't have cards, you can write and journal. But we drew 3 cards for everybody, right?
We did.
So
this week's pivot point with the Quest deck.
Yes. And the fun part is everyone can interpret this for themselves. It's just giving you a point of view for right now. And there are 3 cards, and each card has a different, I'd say, perspective. So the first card is all about your environment and circumstances.
Yep.
What are you working with here? And then the second card is, what action could I take? If I did this, what would happen, right? This is the action. And then the last card is the result. So in these circumstances, taking that action, what results could happen? Right?
Perfect explanation. Yes.
All right. So I'm going to,
and this accesses your intuitive mind.
That creative left brain.
Yep.
So I'm going to draw the card and then have you interpret. Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. First card, circumstances. Everybody, this is called Being Successful, and it's a power card with a west direction. So Wes, what can this card help us understand more about new adventures?
Well, that's a great card to start with for this week, because we've all had our power in some form to thrive and grow and create a career and develop our relationships. And we're doing what we can because we've had the power. So right now we still have the power to be successful. And our pivot point is, what do I need to do to pivot my mindset to continue having that confidence of power and being successful? So that's the circumstances I believe most of us are in right now.
Yes, we're all looking for a new way to be successful.
Right, because right now it's kind of like the rug got pulled out. So now we're looking for the rug.
Well, one door closes, another door opens.
That's true, yeah.
All right, second card. What actions can we take?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So this one, let's see if you can see that okay.
Power card.
Having integrity, which is another power card, can't talk, power card for the West direction. So tell us about that one, Wes.
Well, the action and activity is what needs to happen as you pivot. And that power card, let me just look at what that's about. Okay, it's about having integrity. And that means we don't want to lose who we are. We want to pivot and keep our identity, our brand. We want to look and feel confident like we were before the rug got pulled out. So the action is, you don't want to give yourself up. You want to reinvent yourself. That's the action.
Nice.
Oh, and these are both West cards?
Yes.
So the West is about having some kind of clarity about your hopes and dreams. if you could do whatever you want to do, what would that hope and dream look like? And so you want to be successful, and you want to be uh, having full integrity as you move forward. You don't want to sell your soul. You want to move forward with gusto, being who you are. So those
Yes,
are the first two.
yep, being true to yourself.
Yep.
All right, well, let's say we do that.
Okay.
We found our pivot, and now what could possibly happen? This one is called Bringing Out Potential. It's a service card with a south direction.
All right. So that's usually the desired outcome. And the service card represents the energy that most of us want to get back into doing, whether it's a career as a CEO or as a career as a person that keeps everything spotless. We all want to get back into service of some kind. So the pivot point is having integrity to be successful. And if you do that and you pivot your direction, it looks like you'll get back into service. It might look a unique way. It may look like online digital. It may be something that you do 6 foot from somebody. But what the ideal thing this week is, I want to maintain my power. I want to be authentic, and I want to get back to work. So
Right.
those are kind of cool cards.
Yes, that really matches. And when you're journaling as part of that 6-step process and practice from the mindset pivoter, you can use this question and reflect on, all right, what does this mean for me? What was I successful with before? And what can I be successful with now? Right?
Right, because I've been, as you know, a successful realtor for many, many years. And as we talked about, my pivot point was prompting me a couple of years ago. It took me till last year to pivot, but that door closed and this door opened to be of service in another way. I'm still in service with people, helping them find their way, but not find their house. So I'm still doing the same kind of work, only it looks different and feels different now.
Yes. So that kind of comes back into like that focus 4 where, okay, where do I look for this? And that could be health and wellness. Maybe you discovered a new diet plan that just lights you up and made you so healthy you want to share it with everybody.
Oh, that reminds me of our call on Monday night. One of our ladies who I've known for years, she was in a maze. This process of pivoting, which didn't know she was pivoting, but all of a sudden she decided she'd look at the labels on boxes and cans and soda. And she's like, do you know what's in that stuff? I was like, well, yeah, we've been kind of hinting at maybe you want to change your. My God, all she did was start eating healthy, and she's lost 30 pounds.
Yes. And that was like in a month.
And she's not on a diet. She's eating healthy.
That's right. So that's being successful, being true to herself, and brought out her own potential. That was a great service for her. And now she can share that with others, right?
Oh, yeah. She's so excited. And the great thing, since she and her husband are, quarantined at home, they got to do it together, and he didn't resist. He's like, wow. And she said, I was so surprised when he decided to have carrots instead of French fries. So
yes, miracles can happen when you're on a new adventure.
they do. And
Yes.
all we got to do is get out of the way and give ourselves permission to be amazing.
Yes. And it isn't always where you think you're going to look, right? Like for me, for Tech Joy, it's like something I've always done, but I'm putting human energy to the first level instead of what you're clicking on. So I brought that up to the top, and I said, well, hey, can I teach you guys stuff? And they went, yeah. So instead of helping them teach others, now I get to teach them first.
What I like what you said earlier, you decided to do this from the inside out. Mm-hmm. You wanted to have fun doing your own website and your own program. And you saw the excitement as it started to come together, and you started to get more and more business. And it's like, oh my God, I can have fun and do this. So now, from what I hear you say, You want people to have fun doing their next career.
Yes, 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 yes. Joy infusion. Start in joy. Everything else is easier.
Yep. You got to do the pivot though. May is pivot month, so
That's right. And that's when it's the easiest too.
it
So if you
is.
don't do it now, it's going to be a little trickier later. So this is the time.
And this is a new beginning week. So
Mhm.
whatever you do, it's kind of like that tarot card, the Fool. You just step off your comfort zone and walk into the light and be filled with joy. It's
Yes.
if you try to look back like the river, it's like not going to happen.
You can look all you want, but you're not going there.
No, you're not going back up that mountain. No. So
No.
we're all in that flow of life that everybody talks. Oh, I'd like to get in the flow. Well, we are in the flow. It's time to
This is
pivot if you're heading down a dead end canyon.
all right. Well, let me summarize what we've got so far. We've got a freebie, which is the poem,
Yeah.
an excerpt of the reading of the poem.
Yes.
And then we have the really good journaling question
Yes.
for
And
that.
we're
I can
going to
make a
put
sheet.
the mindset pivoter in there again.
And the mindset pivoter.
Yeah.
My goodness, this is just loaded.
Oh, it's like a candy store.
Well, you know, when you empower positive change, a few tools go a long way.
Yes. And there's nothing better than chocolate at the end of the day to make sure that you're in gratitude.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm excited for this new adventure. We're going to see what, before it was like, well, in the next 3 months, I'll do something. Well, let's set the intention because, like, mine is I'm transforming in 60 days. But in this week, my intention is to get excited, get inspired.
Yes. Yes. And my intention for this week is to get clarity on what I do. I know what I do, but I got to find out what other people see that I do. So I'm looking at clarity so that I can fill my content that you're looking for our next, online program.
Well, excellent. Well, don't worry. I've got some worksheets for you
Oh, yay. Love worksheets.
for people who love worksheets, and I have some hints too. So we'll connect.
Good. All right. Well, it's been a fun week. So I liked what we talked about today. It feels purposeful and productive.
Excellent. It does bring me hope when I can see all these little things add up to something that really make a difference.
Yeah. So thanks for putting these on. It's going to be helpful for all the people that are listening.
Thanks, Wes, and we'll talk next week.
Perfect. See ya.
You have been listening to the I See Hope podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Visit us online at iseehope.world, where you can subscribe to our podcast, our newsletter, read blog articles, and so much more.